Good to have you with us on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia, home of Sports Talk, and also soon to be in how many more days? Home of the Eclipse. That's right. Columbia is claiming the Eclipse,
the 21st,
as its own.
Eclipse City.
I thought it was the 22nd.
No, 21st.
The South Carolina.
I'm glad you told me that. I'd miss it.
The South Carolina Eclipse sounds like an NBA G League basketball team name. That's what it sounds like.
So if you're looking for the Eclipse on the 22nd, you're going to miss it
because it's
coming through on the 21st, right through downtown, right over our heads, right through downtown.
Are you going to look up? Are you going to look up for it?
No,
I probably will.
You're going to blind yourself.
No, I did it last time. I'm not inviting you to do it, but I think I'm probably going to do it. I mean, I'm not going to look. I remember last time they said fill up a bucket with water and look at the reflection.
Okay.
Watch it in the reflection in the water, or go get the glasses. But I don't know what I'm going to do.
How about turn on the cable and just watching what they shoot?
I might just watch it on replay at some point in time.
Yeah.
Not watch it live. 800-956-7266. Let's go to Chris in Spartanburg for our first call tonight here on Sports Talk. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'd like to continue to beat the dead horse of Colin Kaepernick, if you'll indulge me for just a moment.
Sure.
We're indulging.
So, Kaepernick, we all did it. He took the knee and all that good stuff. And, everyone's saying, oh, it's, the military's offended, the police and fire offended, and they can't believe that he would do such a disrespectful thing. And I thought to myself, you know what? These guys in the military, they went and fought for our. And that, if you think about what he did, it was a very peaceful protest.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, go and bust windows and set any cities on fire like they did in Atlanta. They didn't tear it up and shoot people like they did up in Charlotte. He simply took a knee.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm thinking, you know what? The military, who's claiming the disrespect, fought wars for him to be able to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? You may not like it, and that's okay, but just think about the way that he went about it. You know what? He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't, cause any fights. He didn't pull out a gun and start shooting. It was just a peaceful protest.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Listen, I appreciate. Yeah, go ahead. One last thought. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I just was going to say, you know what? We need to kind of remember that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much. I can't speak for anybody else on this issue. To me, it's an individual feeling when you talk about something that raises the emotions. You got politics involved. You got race involved. You got personal selection, personal preference involved in all this. You got a sporting event involved as well. For me, I don't like it. It's just me, okay? Because of a couple of things. Number one, I don't go to sporting events as a fan or as a media member to be dragged into politics.
Same.
I go to a sporting event to be entertained. If I'm a fan of a team, I go to root for that team. If I'm just there to watch a game, I go to watch a game. The idea of 3 hours in an arena away from the outside world is we get away from the outside world. So me personally, I don't care to see political action taking place in a sporting event. Now, I know historically there have been times when political movements have come into play, and they've turned out to be very important moments in our history.
Right.
The 68 Olympics, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. To me, also, when you play for a professional team, you, to me, are an employee of that team.
Right.
And if the 49ers, who were his employers of the day when this came down, if they were to say, look, everybody on our team is going to stand for the national anthem. That's our position. That's our policy. and we're going to enforce that. If not, we will fine you or we will cut you. You know. Now, part of my disappointment is that the NFL showed no backbone and did not enforce any kind of policy here about the players, not just him, but all players in their league standing for the national anthem. They could do what the colleges do: stay in the locker room until the anthem is played and come out afterwards. If it's a shame that it's got to come to that, in my opinion. My whole thing is based on, you got a political point you want to make as an athlete. There's a time and a place to do it. Now, people who will disagree with that would say, well, what better place to do it than during a game on the sideline when you're going to attract all this attention? If he had done this, say, outside the stadium or in downtown San Francisco, maybe who would have noticed? This, of course, brought a lot of attention to him and to his opinion about what he is protesting. Now, as far as him not finding a job right now, it's hard not to believe that his political stance hasn't played a role in this.
Right.
But he also has sucked as a quarterback.
Well, I think, again, it comes down to the perfunctory fact that teams are not going to allow the platform of their teams and of their business to be a source of political activism. And I think that it's just as simple as that. I think that if you look at a lot of what has happened in our country as a result of a lot of these issues, you could say that there's some progress that's been made and there's some positive things that what he's done has yielded. But at the same time, it does make a lot of people very, very angry, regardless of what you feel about him kneeling during the national anthem and what effect it actually does have. They just don't want that place and that particular statement to be made at that time.
Yeah.
Well, the key point is I'm one of those, Corn knows me very well. I have the tendency to think that the disrespect that you have for anybody that protests is to ignore it. To me, I'm in a stadium, Kaepernick takes a knee. I'm not even paying attention to him. And here's the other thing.
Well, it's easy to do it in the stadium. The problem is the cameras seek him out.
Yeah,
right.
Well, look,
that's the first thing they're looking for.
Where's the remote? Well, we'll change it while he's taking a knee. Yeah. And here's the other key. A lot of the people that's complaining about him taking a knee are drinking a beer, talking while the national anthem is being played, not looking at the flag like they're supposed to. So their decorum is not really.
Well, look, I mean, there's no laws. There's no law. Listen, fans can sit if they want to. It's just we grew up as Americans in this country and taught to respect certain things. Now, in this day and age, if there are people who feel like they don't owe the country anything, or the country has done them wrong, or they don't believe they have to respect things that their forefathers respected, well, that's your choice. That is a free country. But it is not your right. It is not your right as a pro football player, if you are told to do something by your employer and you want to claim free speech and all that, and you're protected. You are not protected.
No, you're not.
It is not free speech protected.
An employer has the right.
If they want to cut you, they can cut you. If nobody wants to hire you, they don't have to hire. Look, we're in this business. If I was to go on this air and shout out a bunch of expletives and stupid stuff and get fired, do you think anybody would hire me based on my performance? Of course not.
Not right away.
And they would have that right not to hire me. Nobody owes you anything. And that's why the people who are arguing for Colin Kaepernick and are saying that signed by an NFL team, well, his actions turned off people, employers, potential employers, number one, his actions politically and his actions on the field, because he has not been a good quarterback in the last, 3 or 4 years?
And I think more of the attention is being placed on him because he doesn't have a job. If he got a job in the NFL tomorrow, I think a lot of this would die down, because he said that he would stand for the national anthem. And I think that, once that first game happens and he plays, all that talk goes away. I think there's a desire from those who are
so by standing for the national anthem now, is he saying that everything that he was protesting is fine?
No, saying that he wants to work is what it is.
Yeah, really.
What tells me.
But you know what I love to see?
How strongly did he believe what he was fighting for?
You know what I love to see the reaction to? If Tom Brady took a knee.
Got to hit a break. Be right back.
That was what
out.
We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, the professor, Tom Hayes, Will Pelagic, all together from downtown Columbia. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Got some USC audio coming your way. Also, Dabo Sweeney coming up tonight. The Tigers are on the practice field, wrapping up right about now, and they will be doing some post-practice talking once again. We'll get some notes out of that for you coming up in just a little bit. Pass along a couple of to you on this Wednesday afternoon. The PGA Championship, of course, begins in the morning. We will be visiting with George Bryan III here after the top of the hour. His son Wesley is in the field teeing off. What time is Wesley teeing off tomorrow? I think he had an early tee time. George was not aware of the tee time when we talked to him last Thursday, and I think Wesley is going off early. Yeah, goes off at 7:50 in the morning.
DJ's around 11 or 8:30 rather. 8:35.
Okay. Tee number 1 for Wesley Bryan, playing with a couple of guys who I don't know: Bill McGirt, Kyle Stanley, Lucas Glover, Dustin Johnson, Scott Brown, Russell Henley, and Bill Haas, all from the state of South Carolina, in some form or fashion. In the tournament, it's going to be wet, which means the greens are going to be soft, but the course is going to play really long because you're not going to get that roll.
No bouncing. Bouncing.
Yeah. William Byron officially named today to replace Casey Kane in the number 5 next season for Hendrick Motorsports. 19 years old currently.
Young.
A rookie in the Xfinity Series, second in the point standings there. So as we talked with Kerry Tharp last night about it, what a changeover. Hendrick Motorsports losing, of course, Dale Jr. after this year, losing Casey Kane, lost Jeff Gordon a couple of years ago.
And how much longer is JJ going to be there?
Yeah, he's 42 years old. He doesn't show any signs of wanting to get out of it.
But that's
anytime soon.
That's old, though.
Yeah.
That's old in NASCAR years.
Well, not really. I mean, maybe today, but you go back to previous era, drivers were racing into their 50s with no problem.
I'm talking about now, though. I mean, that's
because they weren't making the money. Yeah. They were still driving because they wanted to get paid. These guys make so many millions of dollars so early that the desire and the need to race until your mid 40s and longer just isn't there.
Here's the interesting thing is why the youth movement. I mean, that's interesting.
Well, I mean, these are talented young drivers.
They look like they signed and those guys like they draft NBA high schoolers or 1 year out of college.
Well, the thing about JJ, what more does he have to prove? I would say
nothing.
I don't think he has anything left to prove.
Well, I mean, the one thing left for him is to become the all-time winner of championships. He's tied with Dale Sr. right now, so he needs one more championship to surpass him. Even
though I think you at least can say that of this era of NASCAR drivers, he's the unquestioned best.
No, yeah.
So I don't think I think that's just it's a nice number, it's a nice thing, but at the end of the day, you have to look toward the future. Why not?
Couple of reports this morning from Charleston and then from the state that the College of Charleston and USC negotiating to play a baseball game next spring at Spirit Communications Park, home of the Fireflies. So this is kind of a strange, to me, this is a strange deal. First of all, nobody's verified it. They're citing sources here. Chad Holbrook had said when he was hired at Charleston, they weren't playing South Carolina this year. Maybe they're trying to put something together. It doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me from a South Carolina standpoint. Why would you give up a home game to go play in the park down the street from yours where the minor league team plays in a smaller park in terms of the actual seating? Why would you want to play a neutral site game against Charleston? It's not like Charleston is a big national power. Like you do that game with North Carolina in Charlotte for obvious reasons. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why South Carolina would agree to this.
Beer.
I don't see the benefit for the Gamecock standpoint.
Beer. It's the only reason.
Yeah.
They'd be able to sell beer.
Why would that be a reason to have a game at the minor league park?
Raise some money.
Get some beer drinkers in there that normally won't go to a Gamecock.
No, seriously,
again,
it really doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the way that a lot of these deals work is there's a guarantee up front as far as how much you're going to get from a money standpoint. But again, it's a standalone thing.
But South Carolina sells about, for their home baseball games, somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that money is guaranteed. You can't put this game in your season ticket package because you're going to have to split it with the College of Charleston to some degree, and the Fireflies are going to get their cut. They're going of parking or concessions or something. Financially, maybe I don't see the numbers, but financially, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
To me, this looks like a trial balloon, unnamed sources. This seems like somebody cooked up. Chad Holbrook gets revenge to South Carolina. What can we do? We don't want him to bring him back to the ballpark where he was head coach. So we'll go over to Spirit Communications. This sounds like something that was just cooked up to send a trial balloon. Can the College of Charleston, South Carolina, ever play each other with Chad Holbrook?
Sure they can.
I say, I mean, there's no shortage of intrigue, at least from the matchup standpoint.
Exactly.
And I think, even though, like you said, that the ballpark might be subpar compared to where South Carolina
No, it's not subpar. It's a beautiful park.
You said it's smaller, you said.
Well, yeah, South Carolina can seat 8,200. They can seat about
9,000, I think I looked up earlier today.
If they fill the hill up and everything. I'm talking about seats.
Yes.
South Carolina can sit 8,200.
May I do my impression now? Fake news.
Mm-hmm.
Fake news.
I don't know. There seems to be some smoke here. Again, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me on the face, but maybe there's some logic there. All right, USC football, the Gamecocks not practicing today, getting a deserved day off. So the guys get to heal up a little bit and get ready for the push the rest of this week because they've got a big scrimmage coming up on Saturday. Their first big scrimmage of fall camp will be inside Williams-Brice Stadium. One of the battles on the offensive line at this particular time is that left tackle position. Malik Young in a battle with the newcomer, Dennis Daly. And Young talks about going head-to-head, trying to hold on to that job.
Dennis, me and him on the same level athletically wise. He had longer arms than me, but that's about it.
You're obviously deeper into the system than he is, and charged, I know, with bringing him along and helping him understand it. But you're hurting yourself in a way of doing that. How do you walk that line?
It's not hurting yourself because at the end of the day, it's competition. You need somebody behind you that's good to keep you working. You can't get complacent. That's how I feel. And when I was younger, I really didn't have nobody to show me the way, show me the plays, and just help me out. So me and Dennis the same age, so I relate with him. I like helping him sometimes,
How quickly is he picking it up?
I mean, he's picking it up pretty good, honestly. I can't lie, he really is picking it up pretty good.
Is there anything you picked up from him?
Nah, honestly, I mean, he a cool dude. I ain't really picked nothing up from him, but I like being around him. He like my brother.
Yeah, that's an area of concern, I think, for the South Carolina offensive line going into the second half of camp. They've got to determine who is the best player there, and then is that player going to be good enough to hold up against, in particular, to open the season, an outstanding defensive end from NC State. Real good pass rushers on both sides of the line at NC State, whether it is a Street, who's a veteran defensive lineman, on one side. NC State defense is just loaded. Malik Young is a guy that has got some good size. Playing the left side is something new to him. He flipped over from the right side after last season. So I don't know yet if he's going to be good enough to handle it. And, of course, Dennis Daly was a junior college guy, another guy with real good size. Mm-hmm. But, again, unproven, and they're gonna learn under fire against NC State if they're able to handle it.
Best way to do it. As Brad Scott once said, had a guy at Florida State tell me, I can't block him, coach. He said, well, then just get run over slowly.
I'm wondering how much we'll see under center versus shotgun too early because of the fact that might at least slow down the pass rush a little bit.
Yeah. Did we see Bentley under center much last year?
No.
I don't think so. Might not see it at all. I'm not sure.
I know Adam Knott did say they were practicing under center, though.
Yeah, okay.
Give it a good look for that running game.
Yeah.
You can really crank it up from under center.
All right, we'll be right back.
Just more confident. You know, he's a sophomore. He's got a year under his belt. Just more confident. You know, he's a sophomore. He's a sophomore.
All right, Clemson back on the practice field this afternoon. Tigers worked out yesterday into the evening. Dabo Swinney got together with his buds from the media afterwards to talk about the team. Of course, he's upbeat about practically everything. And, you know, when you got talent, you got good players, there's reason to feel good. Their defense is coming together nicely. Some of the young bucks on defense are stepping up and playing well. In particular, they're citing Trey Lamar as standing out at middle linebacker, allowing Kendall Joseph to be over at the will linebacker spot. They like how that's coming together. They think Shaq Smith is starting to show some stuff at defensive end, giving them some depth there. Isaiah Simmons at safety coming on, helping there's some depth there. So some of these guys that we've heard recruited the last few years now getting a chance to show their stuff. Xavier Kelly at a defensive end spot as well. On the offensive side, of course, the concern is at quarterback. We'll hear from Dabo on that later. You know, running back's got to be a little bit of a concern too, because you lose your all-time leading rusher in Wayne Gallman. Who's going to step up and be the guy? Maybe I think the Tiger fans want to see Tavian Feaster from Spartanburg High School, who played some last year, didn't get much of a chance to show what he can do. I think they'd like to see him get a lot of carries and be the guy. Dabo, in his conversation yesterday with the media, talked about the running backs and in particular the improvement he has seen in Feaster.
He's more confident. He's a sophomore. He's got a year under his belt. You know, you don't know what you don't know. You know, you try to tell him, you try to prepare him, but you just, as a freshman, you just have so much to learn. And especially when there's not a lot of opportunity because you just got, you know, better player in front of you. You know, not necessarily more talented player, but just more productive, consistent, dependable player. And his confidence is in a good spot. But you know, I'm really pleased with those backs. And Fuller had a great day today. He took one about 75 on 3rd and 1 to the house. Adam Choice has been outstanding. And then this Etienne kid, I'm gonna tell you, we'll take all them guys we can get. He's been gonna be special. I'm really, really excited about Travis. So we got a good group, and then we got some walk-ons there. Ty Thomason, we got him in the right spot, and a little Rencher kid, Darren Rencher, is a good back as well. So we got a good group right there, and I love the chemistry that I've seen. But those first three guys are they're gonna all have a chance to butter the bread at some point.
The thing about Feaster that I love is that, we only have really one data point to kind of use on him as being the guy. And that's, of course, that spring game where he kind of had his coming out party, 142 all-purpose yards in that spring game, a lot on the kickoff return as well. And I think, so much about him is his play in the open field. And I think you really need to use him in a variety of ways to not only get him the ball in space, but also use him in a way that almost kind of like South Carolina would use Deebo Samuel, a way that you can stretch the field horizontally and get the opposing defenses off balance.
Yeah, I would agree. You didn't see him in high school, but he was dynamic, especially as a junior. A little bit, if I remember correctly, had some injury issues, slowed him down some as a senior. But the junior year, he was really something. And, he not only on the football field, but on the track, just very, very fast. And now he's got that 220-pound frame. Apparently, it's good weight. It's not anything that's slowing him down.
You need to be durable.
Yeah. Well, the key point is it's interesting the guy, if he is the man who he has to replace, because Feaster was the man in high school. For all the fans, he was one of big-time recruits. Gallman, if I can remember, Corn, was like a throw-in. And
Gallman was part of that crowd from Grayson High School that all committed to Clemson, along with our buddy Kim Dichie. And you had Ryan Carter, Wayne Gallman, Kim Dichie. And then the quarterback transferred to Mississippi State and was the backup at Clemson. He was from the same school. But Kim Dichie was the gem. That's who they wanted.
Exactly.
Gallman and Carter were sort of like, eh. And, of course, Kim Dichie didn't stick. He went to Ole Miss. And Gallman became Clemson's all-time leading rusher, and Carter is starting at safety.
And see, that's the thing. I think Gallman ran with an attitude.
Carter's at corner.
Gallman ran with the attitude is, y'all don't think I should be here, do you? And he kept that attitude even though he was the star. And I think Dabo is hoping that attitude that Gallman had rubs off on Feaster, because Gallman ran nasty. He ran mean.
And I think you carry a little bit of swagger, too, with Feaster. I mean, the top player in the state coming out of high school and top running back as well, at least across his recruiting class, one of the top running backs across his recruiting class. I think he feels like he has something to prove. And I think that's something that you have to harness if you're Dabo Swinney and all the folks on that offense.
Okay, Dabo Swinney, we'll hear more from him later, talking about the Tigers quarterback situation, which, of course, remains a big point of interest for everyone, not just here, but all across the country. I mean, when you're the national champions and you're starting over at quarterback, everybody's looking to see who it's going to be and how well that guy is going to play. All right, to recruiting we go now on this Wednesday night. Tight end Mustafa Muhammad of Missouri City, Texas. You know where that is?
I do. It's in Houston.
It's in Houston?
Yes.
Why is it called Missouri City?
I have no idea, but it's at southwest suburb of Houston. It's by Sugar Land.
Okay, I've heard of Sugar Land.
It's right next door.
He was at Clemson in January, and the Tigers are keeping in touch with him, trying to stay in close contact, and they've been successful to get an official from him November 11. Also on his short list, Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas, Texas A&M, UCLA, and Southern Cal. He's been in touch with the Clemson coaches over the months and building a relationship. They're eager to come back, he said, he and his family to visit. They had such a good time the last time. He also knows Clemson's history at tight end. Recently, you're talking about Dwayne Allen, Michael Palmer, Jordan Leggett, all NFL guys. He thinks he would fit in well in Clemson's offense. And they also have quarterbacks that can get the ball to him. So he's happy about that opportunity. He will release his other official visits next week.
That's a very big hotbed. I know a lot of SEC products who've come out of that city, also Big 12. That's become a real fertile recruiting ground. I don't want to say it's the scraps necessarily of what the Texas schools don't get, but they get a lot of players out of that area.
All right, now to basketball. 6'7" Hunter Tyson of Monroe, North Carolina, originally planned to take an official to Clemson last weekend, but with the Tigers practicing and packing up for their 10-day trip to Spain, That visit was put on hold until the Tigers return. He's very interested in Clemson. He's held an offer from Brad Brownell since last July. And so he says they believed in him at an early age, and they think he can come in and have an impact on their program and get Clemson to the tournament. He likes the coaching staff, and so he's definitely considering them. Davidson and Michigan are two others which are recruiting him hard. No favorite. Last season he averaged 27 and 10. He can really shoot it, he is told by coaches, he says. He can put it on the floor, and he's a good rebounder. 6'7", Jimmy Nichols of Conway was to visit USC today unofficially, according to Jamie Shaw of Phenon Hoops. The Gamecocks, prior to this visit, have not offered. We'll check and see if anything else has happened. Jimmy Nichols does have offers from Miami, Rutgers, Coastal, Nebraska, Georgetown, VCU, and Pittsburgh. 6'5", Aaron Neesmith Portugal was offered by Georgetown. Of course, he's got USC, Clemson offers, also Boston College, Georgia, Wichita State, A&M, Virginia Tech, Providence, Vandy, which he visited last weekend, and Florida. And I have to say this.
I'll do it.
No. I'm doing it. I just want to tell the FCC, do not fine me for saying this. USC, this is a big-time player, too. USC offered 6'8", Simi Shitu.
Simi Sola is his full name.
Well, he goes by Simi.
Yeah.
Or it could be Simi Shitu of Vermont Academy.
It's such a fun name.
Well, you had the Jite, so you could deal with this one. You had the Jite.
No, it's not it's not the process of pronouncing it. It's what it sounds like when you say it.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the film on that kid. He can jump out the gym.
By the way, I watched last night on ESPN the Baltimore Kids. Have y'all seen that?
Yes.
I've seen parts of it. Yeah.
Well, there's, the Doziers are from Dunbar.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't part of all this, but there was one scene when they had a picture of a team of youngsters, and the Doziers were in that picture. You could see Perry and Terry Dozier in that picture. Back in a moment.
Yeah.
All right, coming down in 3, 2, 1. Tight end Mustafa Muhammad of Missouri City, Texas, plans to visit Clemson officially November 11th. The Tigers are on his short list, along with the likes of Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas. He says he's in regular contact with the Clemson Tigers. Why did I say that? Let's take it again. 3, 2, 1. Tight end Mustafa Muhammad of Missouri City, Texas, plans to visit Clemson officially November 11th. The Tigers are on his short list, along with the likes of Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas, and Southern Cal. Says he's in regular contact with the Clemson coaches and likes their offense and could see himself fitting in with Clemson. In basketball, 6'7" Hunter Tyson of Monroe, North Carolina, plans to take an official visit to Clemson when the Tigers come back from their trip to Spain. The Tigers are very interested and offered him last July. He averaged 27 points and 10 rebounds per game last season. 6'7" Jimmy Nichols of Conway visited USC unofficially on Wednesday. He has offers from Miami, Rutgers, Nebraska, Georgetown, VCU, and Pittsburgh. Phil Kornblut, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. Not sure if I should have put that Jimmy Nichols thing in there. Tight end Mustafa Muhammad of Pittsburgh. Phil Kornblut, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. Vermont Academy, please.
So I was saying the other week that if you breathed on them during practice, Coach Sweeney would pull your scholarship. So never had the opportunity to do it. Hopefully come Wednesday I get in the game while he's in there and I'll try my best.
Would you?
I say I'll give him a hug and a kiss after, but I would put everything into that hit. That's three and a half years of waiting to hit somebody. Put all 3 years in. Three and a half years of waiting to put everything into that hit. Put everything. But I would put.
$266.
But I would
Time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth and Will Pelagic. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
That's the phone number here on Sports Talk. Blah, blah, blah. 800-956-7266 is the number. Love to hear from you. Got something on your mind you want to share with us? We will be happy to hear what you have to say and respond accordingly.
I know Michael from Marion wanted to call in. He says he likes the new sound of the show, which is nice.
The new sound, what's that?
The fact that I'm joining you here on the longer side.
In other words,
I also,
you want a pat on the back. Come over here. I'll pat you on the back. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Also, I've been told to try boiled peanuts.
You never had boiled peanuts?
That's a never.
Please, whatever you do, do not admit things related to the South that you haven't done or don't do.
I didn't have pimento cheese before Sunday.
See, don't share these things with the audience. Okay, they don't need to know anything else you want to get off your chest.
Not for lack of desire, Corn. I tried pimento cheese and I loved it.
Pimento?
And it was fantastic. I'm going to have it on everything.
But pimento cheese is not a Southern delicacy. You get that anywhere.
Not in Texas.
you cannot get pimento cheese in Texas?
I've never seen it before. Other than I've never seen it outside. I
realize that was relegated to the South.
I'd never seen that outside of Augusta National, personally.
Oh, they have the best pimento cheese.
That's what I've been told.
All right, back to the phones we go, 800-956-7266. And, we got George on the line. Oh, okay. I did not know that George was waiting for us. So let's go to GB3 over in Charlotte.
He was probably eating some pimento cheese.
Possibly so. The PGA Championship, where it has been raining for the most part in the Charlotte area, as it has been here in South Carolina. Little birdies and bogeys, not just in South Carolina, but around the world here, with the last of the major championships being played this week in Charlotte. George Bryan III joins us. Good evening, George.
Good evening, and that is pimento cheese. And I save up that for April at Augusta. They just kill it down there with that sandwich.
Pimento cheese and lemonade.
Absolutely. And so, I'm at Coyle Hollow, and it's absolutely brilliant here. The rain or the clouds have kept the heat down. Spectacular. The crowds are up, though. Wow.
Yeah.
This is a crowded major, and there is a lot of excitement. It's really uplifting. A lot of fun.
The PGA loves Quail Hollow, right? They've already guaranteed that they'll be back again for a PGA there.
It is hospitality, Southern hospitality is finest, the heart of the Carolinas. And just a little over an hour up the road. The TV is great, but, being live and in person, nothing like it. Today was a lot of fun. Wesley played a practice round with Bubba Watson, and although I've met him, I have not been inside up close while this man plays, and it is something special. It is really special.
George, I think the $64,000 question we're all wondering is what kind of shape is the course in, especially with all that rain we've seen this week?
Well, it's to me, what I've seen looks perfect. It looks beautiful, and it's playable. It looks to me like at this point the players can chip and pitch around the greens, and in some of the majors, that's from impossible to brutal, and most of the fans can't see that. The U.S. Open, you can't. If you miss a green, if you're in the fairway short, it's acceptable or good, but anything else, you basically aren't even playing golf. You're hacking it out, need a shovel or a mower or something, but But here it's going to be playable, and you can play it out of the rough here, and that's going to be fun to watch because it requires a great deal of skill to be able to play from the rough when they're hitting flyers, and the greens look perfect. So from my perspective, it looks fabulous.
Well, everything is practically brand new, right? All the greens have been redone, new turf all over the course, Bermuda in the rough. So they closed the course for I guess over a year or so to get it completely rebuilt for the PGA.
And I have not seen this is a lot of property here to walk around in just a few hours to see 150 plus acres. And you're right, they did redo the course and But I can't comment at this point on all the renovations. Maybe tomorrow night or the following. But what I've seen, everything is immaculate. It's perfect. The got great views from the tee. And it looks to me like a lot of fun to play. But I haven't. Not yet.
You know, George, interestingly enough, you mentioned the play with the rough and kind of the ability to scramble. I think that sets up very nicely for a guy like Jordan Spieth, because to me, you're talking about a guy who knows how to spin the ball from basically anywhere on the golf course, and that short game of his is one of the best that we've seen. We saw that on display overseas.
Well, and he's at it pretty tight. He's locked down pretty good. I watched him around practice, and he's in go mode. So, and he's obviously one of the best in the world and one of the youngest. So it could set up. This would not be this. I don't know that this sets up perfect for him, but when you're the best, you make it that way. This is definitely a long hitter's paradise. Definitely, without doubt. And Dustin Johnson, I would say somebody, Bubba, even there's a couple of others out there. There's a guy that played last week. This is something that I didn't talk about a lot. 61, Hideki. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. I was there.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the best. That might be the best I've ever seen, and I didn't watch it. I didn't see 61. Wesley shoots 67, and people are going, "Oh, what's wrong with?" How does that happen?
Yeah,
61's unbelievable.
Yes, so, indeed. Is the course going to play? It's already long. Is it going to play a lot longer because of the wet conditions that will be awaiting the golfers in the morning?
Oh, it's going to be longer, but that's no problem for these guys. They pound on it. Well, man, there's my daughter just got engaged just this minute.
No,
and I'm gonna putt out. I'm gonna putt out. That's right. This is She did say yes. That's the good news.
Look
but
at that. But you're announcing this on live radio in the state that your daughter just got engaged?
That's exactly right. But she said yes, and I love this young man. But I am checking out 10-4. I love it. Talk to y'all tomorrow night.
Bye.
See him high, but shoot him low.
Wow,
that's a first.
So he just basically dropped
on the Sports Talk.
He just dropped the mic.
He just basically put us ahead of his daughter getting engaged. Of course, he didn't want to be there to see that, I guess. I'm assuming he knew it was coming down, but how about that? Congratulations, George.
I hope he asked. I mean, I would hope he asked the gentleman.
I don't know. It's possible.
That's the proper thing to do these days.
Yeah,
and all the time.
Doesn't always work, because when my daughter's husband asked me, I said no, but it didn't stop him.
Get out.
Yeah.
That's not the first time someone hasn't listened to some of your advice.
That's true.
And he didn't take a knee either.
And he didn't putt out. He didn't putt out and get out of the way. All right, congratulations to the George Bryant family with the news right then and there that the daughter has gotten engaged, and doing it right there at Quail Hollow side of the PGA Championship, which gets underway.
I was thinking those are the two places you don't do that. You never ask a girl to marry you at Christmas, and you don't do it on a golf course. I thought those are two things.
I've never heard that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't think about doing it any one of those places or times either. Anyway, we got a quick comment from Dustin Johnson that George mentioned. And Dustin, of course, looking to
should be in the iDrive.
Get back into the major championship run of things after
D. Johnson
just prior to the
name of the font
to Augusta National, and moment I'm being told we don't have it ready to go. So our crack producer, somebody want to wake him up back there and see if he can enjoy the show with us. We'll get to Dustin Johnson coming up in just a moment. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. We'll also hear from a little more from Dabo Sweeney talking about the quarterback competition with the Tigers coming up, and we'll check on what's coming out of Clemson's camp this afternoon after the Tigers have completed another day of practice. They're getting ready for their first scrimmage as well, which will be this Saturday too. South Carolina and Clemson both having closed scrimmages coming up this weekend. All right, we'll be right back. So as we were saying, Dustin Johnson, the South Carolina native, Coastal Carolina grad, himself a holder of a major championship, and a guy that we consider to be a favorite going into the PGA tomorrow, as George was saying. The length of the course plays right in to Dustin Johnson's game, maybe Bubba Watson as well, as the course is expected to play much longer than the 7,000-plus yards it already is. And Dustin feels like his game now is coming together, and I think he's pretty confident going into the first round tomorrow that he's going to have a good weekend in Charlotte.
Feel like, the golf game's in really good shape right now. I played really well there on Sunday. I had a good practice, session yesterday, played 9 holes. I feel like I'm driving it really well again. So, it is frustrating what happened when I was playing so well, but there's nothing I can do about that. Things happen, and so now I just got to, fight and practice, work hard to get back to where I was. And, I feel like it's really close to being back to how good it was before the Masters.
It's just confounding how he ended the started the 2017 campaign, with those 3 wins, and then what happens at the Masters happens, and missed the cut at the U.S. Open, tied the mid-50s at the Open Championship. It just kind of all fell off for him, unfortunately. I think, a little trip back home might do him some good.
Yeah, possibly so. But as he mentioned, he played well at Firestone, started to see it come together.
Right.
It's going to tee off tomorrow morning at number 10 at 8:35. So we'll see how the weather is in the morning. Typically, you get the morning round, you get some calm conditions.
Yes.
I don't know what the forecast is right now for overnight and all that, but you get the winds are down, and you got a chance to get out there and put a good number on the board and get off to a good start. All right, 800-956-7266. Let's go to Bulldog Bert. Bulldog Bert joining us here on Sports Talk from his home abode of Saluda. Yes, I know.
That's right. And I, Professor Hayes, I made my proposal during Christmas when I asked my fiance, now my wife, to marry me because all the family was together.
Oh, okay.
And, but you see that. But what you're not telling us is that was a shotgun. That was a shotgun proposal. Okay. I think her daddy put a shotgun to your head and said, or maybe it was the other way around. I don't know. Because anyway, who in their right mind would marry you?
You know who she is. Anyway,
I know. I mean, you outkicked your coverage.
That's right. I met a lot of Georgia fans at Quail Hollow yesterday. I really enjoyed it. Met a lot of Clemson and Carolina fans up there as well.
What'd you think of the layout?
Well, I told my first cousin went with me and some friends of mine. We always go to Wells Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me the difference in PGA and Wells Fargo, and it's the same course. Number one, everything's changed almost. The whole layout, it's where you can see more. You can stand actually on like 13 and see 10, 11, 13, and 12.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty phenomenal, the way that they did it. They really, and of course, it's for TV. And but when you were standing in the rough, whereas last year it looked like my grass in my front yard with the weeds sprouting up in the rough, this year it's more Master-esque. In other words, like going to the Masters, but it's very thick. It's probably, I don't know what kind of soil they got up there. It's a sandy soil, but you could see around the bunkers, the way they trim the bunkers, the grass in just around the bunkers was probably from root all the way to the tip, probably 2 foot high.
Ooh.
So when you get in there, it's like a matty thing. So when your ball drops in, like several did yesterday right in front of us on 12, when it drops in that rough, it's just like it's nestled down in there. It's resting down in the grass, so you got to hit out of it. And it was pretty hard on those players. It was almost like it clogged it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if they were having trouble getting their clubs through that heavy grass, and the grass was grabbing.
Oh, yeah. It's worse, but it's worse than being in the pass. That's what my friend said. He looked good because he landed right under a tree in some pine straw versus hitting in that grass. And I don't know what kind of grass it is, but it's some kind of hybrid.
Well, they should have had some practice. What occurred in Wisconsin?
Yeah,
with that thick stuff they were hitting.
They put Bermuda. I was reading a story about the course, and as we were talking with George, they redid everything, all new turf, and I think they outfitted the rough area in Bermuda. Now it's grown up, and of course we all know Bermuda grown high is very thick, very tough grass.
It's almost like a one-stroke penalty, honestly, when you hit it into that rough. And I think that that's very much like what you would see in most majors.
Yeah, well, they're gonna, look, the U.S. Open turned out to be kind of a dud. Yes. Because the scores were
that tournament's not going back there. I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah. So they want to, but this is the PGA now. The PGA people, the U.S. Open people, are known for being diabolical in setting up their course to make it as hard as possible. That wasn't the case this past summer. The PGA is not quite as mean when it comes to setting up their courses, but it's still very, very tough. But we've seen some no names win the PGA. We've seen some very low scores in PGA championship competition, except, see, now when they have it at Kiowa, where it will go back in 2021, and we remember what it was like in 2012 with the wind. When the wind, you have to do a thing because Mother Nature protects itself out there.
You go wide the road into there?
Well, I sure hope so. Gosh, I sure hope so. They still have maybe some of this this new money raised from the gas tax will go towards expanding the road to Kiowa.
I know we were talking earlier about Panthers and Texans. Louis Riddick of ESPN says he still believes that Tom Savage is the #1 quarterback in the National Football League, and he says
is a #1 quarterback,
is a legit #1 quarterback in the National Football League, and he says his #1 receiver believes so as well. And of course, talking about DeAndre Hopkins, I think that's a tad much to at least describe him at. Why did you go out and make all those trade assets to go get Deshaun Watson? Like, why did you do that if you think that Tom Savage is your #1 starting quarterback?
Because you got to have Deshaun Watson. You can't pass on a Deshaun Watson.
But I mean, you know how much they gave up to get rid of him? I mean, they basically mortgaged the future to have a win now guy in Deshaun Watson. If you thought you had your #1 quarterback in Tom Savage, you don't go get Deshaun Watson.
How old is Tom Savage?
Not old. I think I want to say he's 26.
26. Yeah. Something like that. But, the key point is
27.
Look at that division, though. I think they could afford to take a guy like Deshaun Watson. And then you look at that division. The Colts are in disarray. We don't know if their quarterback is going to be able to play. Well, Jacksonville is in perpetual rebuilding.
Tennessee, though, I mean, Marcus Mariota is the truth.
Yeah, but Tennessee has also struggled on defense, especially at the defense.
They have, but if the only team you have to beat is the Houston Texans, I mean, what at the end of the day do you have to do?
Listen. At the end of it all, Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback. I don't care what Louis Riddick says or what any. They did not draft and sign Watson to this humongous contract for him to sit. It's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, the transition from college to the pros is not an easy one. Just like freshmen in college, rookie quarterbacks in the NFL have their struggles. It's a whole different speed, and you're talking about more games and everything else. Deshaun Watson will be the quarterback in Houston in due time. They're going to need him at some point in time to step in with his speed and his arm to make plays for them, and that will happen. I'm fully confident. I don't know why people have this desire to downplay Deshaun Watson. The guy has done nothing but win every step along the way from high school through college and win at the highest level. And people still do not want to give him credit.
Some girls that are very beautiful, you want to walk up to them and just search the face for any flaws you can have. And that's what Deshaun is. He's so good that
that'll
people
get
have
you
to try to
arrested,
find
if you start searching a face for flaws. That will get you arrested.
Yeah, in some places.
All right, we'll be right back here on Sports Talk.
Coach Muschamp, with his schedule that he sets up, we're here for 12, 13.
We out.
Yeah, a lot of local flavor on the field at the Bank of America Stadium. Clowney, Demir Bird, Boulware, Deshaun Watson, Nuke Hopkins. Where is Swearinger now? Is he still with
Redskins?
the Texans?
He's a Redskins.
Oh, that's right. He's at the Redskins. Okay, okay. Anybody else with the Panthers got a connection to the state? I said Boulware. I said Demir Bird. Can y'all think of anybody else? I can't think of
Who was
anybody
the big
else.
fullback they had? Didn't he move on though? They had the Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think he
moved
did.
on.
Yeah, I haven't heard his name mentioned. So,
and of course, there's McNair, who's a USC graduate in the owner's box.
Yeah,
if he's there
a
tonight.
lot of South Carolina connections to that deal. Of course, Deshaun Watson drawing a lot of attention from the media from South Carolina there to cover him. That means, of course, he's not at Clemson anymore. That means Clemson has got to find somebody to replace Deshaun Watson, somebody they hope can play somewhere near the level that Deshaun Watson was playing at the end of his career. That will take some time, of course, and some development. Kelly Bryant, Hunter Johnson, Zarek Cooper, Chase Bryce. Those are the ones holding down the fort, possibly until the hair gets there in 2018. That will be another interesting dynamic to the Clemson quarterback situation, but that's a story for another day. Right now, Dabo Swinney is focused on the four guys at hand, and is Kelly Bryant, who has been the starting quarterback since the spring, and he is still the starting quarterback. And after practice last night, Dabo Swinney said there's no reason to think otherwise about the starting quarterback.
Right now, Kelly's still the most consistent. Kelly has had, what is this, 5 days? He's had really 5 really good days. And he just has an excellent command. Zarek and Hunter, just great potential, and just are doing an excellent job as well. I mean, they're all doing a really good job. But Kelly's just a little more consistent in decision making, just making the right decisions. But they're all three doing good. And then nobody asked me about Chase Bryce. He's pretty good too. He's pretty good. Here's a kid that has really impressed me because I thought he'd be behind. And man, he has really displayed a great aptitude to pick it up. I mean, he's doing a good job with the protections and all that. And he's still making up some ground, but he's sharp now and has done some really good things. So all four of those guys, I'm really encouraged by what I've seen.
Can he make it a four-man race?
What's that?
Can he make it a four-man race?
Well, I mean, it is a four-man race. They're all repping, so we ain't wasting reps out there. That's for sure. Every rep counts. So we ain't got the four in camp, so it's a four-man race. But as we said, coming out of spring, Kelly's our starter, and nothing has changed. It's his job to stay there, and it's some other guy's job to go get him. And we're day 5. We got a long way to go. Play September 2nd.
All right, Dabo Swinney talking last night after practice. Still very much a believer in Kelly Bryant. Hasn't done anything to discourage him. And I think if you're Kelly Bryant, you're sort of like that guy with a 5-shot lead with 3 holes to go. Just don't do anything to mess it up. You're the guy with a half a lap lead with 5 laps to go. Just don't hit the wall. Just don't get spun out. And so his thing is to play smart football, protect the football, don't turn it over, make the right decisions that an older guy should make. Use your legs when required, when necessary, because you've got in Kelly Bryant a guy who can scoot, and just try and be as smart as you can in the passing game, and don't risk things.
Well, the key point is right now in driver's training nomenclature, we'll say, look, he's got the learner's permit right now. And it could be revoked at any time with those guys behind him. But let's face it, Corn, they're going to make him as comfortable as possible for him to succeed, but they're not going to ask him to win a football game. Part of Deshaun Watson's interceptions last year is he had the keys to the car and permission to do anything he wanted to because they wanted him to win football games. And sometimes when a quarterback gets that responsibility, you expect them maybe to take a chance more or two and throw maybe some interceptions that they shouldn't. But he's not going to have that right. They're going to keep a rein on him at least early.
Well, bro, and you alluded to this, Corn, as well, is I don't want Kelly to be relying too much on his legs. Like, you want to see him develop into a passer. I don't want necessarily him to be a pure passer, but if you rely on your legs too much, that gives you a little false sense of security.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with him that he needs to develop. From anybody who has seen him play at Clemson, his tendency has been to run too quickly.
Right.
That is something they have worked with him on since the spring, over the summer, and now in the fall. We'll see. Well, we won't see until they play Kent State. We can't see any practices, but that's when we'll find out if he has become that guy who can, you have that clock that goes off in your head.
Exactly.
And I guess with some quarterbacks, it's a faster clock than others. Those who have the slower clock and can manage it, they deal with the pass rush and they stand in there to the last moment. Jake Bentley seems to have a very slow clock in his head because he would hang in the pocket and hang in the pocket and hang in the pocket and take a hit and deliver the football. Maybe his clock needs to be sped up a little bit. I think when it comes to pass protection and avoiding sacks, that's something that he has thought about, that he has to do some things to help his offensive line out.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I saw the development when he went to the San Francisco 49ers and Steve Young, because Jerry Rice would always be upset saying, Steve, could you stay in the pocket a couple of minutes? I'm about to come open if you just wait 2 or 3 more seconds. And that's the key to quarterbacks, knowing that the guy, as opposed to waiting till the guy's open, throw him open.
Yeah. And I think, too, a lot of what we will see in the opening couple of weeks is, again, you're going to see tough defenses. 2 out of the first 3 weeks you are for Clemson's opposition. And I think, if you get him under duress, how he reacts to that duress.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number here on Sports Talk. They are underway in Charlotte.
Tom Savage, 3 and out in his first drive, by the way. Just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Okay, we'll see what happens. Everybody wants to jump on the first series of the first preseason game and draw all
Well,
kinds
so
of
it's all about hot
conclusions.
takes. It's all about hot takes, Phil. You know that.
Look at the beautiful new field they have there at Bank of America Stadium.
They needed
really,
it too.
really.
Kelvin Benjamin totally manhandled his opposition on that first play from Derek Anderson. That was he's in midseason form already.
Who's
Kelvin,
that?
Mr. Benjamin. You think he wanted to catch a couple early?
No doubt. No doubt.
Get himself a couple of reps and then sit down on the sideline with Ron Rivera because it's the first preseason game out of 4.
Well, they're going to get the starters out pretty quickly, I'm sure, once they get a couple of times up and down the field. Now, Clowney, they've moved Clowney to a pure linebacker spot with the Texans. No more defensive end. So
they move him all around. They
are listing him as a linebacker, and I'm wondering, well, is that him on the top?
That's him on the top there.
So
also,
he did put his hand down on the ground.
See, what they do with him is they like to freelance him because they'll move him inside, they'll move him outside, they'll stand him up. He kind of has free reign, if you will, kind of like what J.J. Watt had as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he even said too, and he said this in OTAs too, he almost benefited more from JJ not being on the field and trying to basically live up to what he's doing. He actually benefited more than with JJ Watt off the field than he did with him on.
He probably benefited because Merciless was on the field too.
You just want to say that name.
Loves Whitney Merciless.
That guy,
he just likes saying the name.
That guy stayed in the backfield. You know that. You've seen him.
Yes.
Once he took off, he had a great get off. And the key point of moving Clowney around is, let's face it, that's an extra second the quarterback is looking, because when he comes up to the line of scrimmage, where's Clowney now?
And he also, the thing about him is he doesn't do the same thing on back-to-back plays. That's the other thing too. So that's another guy you have to account for. And they'll sometimes even drop him into coverage.
Just had a 50-yard field goal go wide left by the Panthers. Who's their kicker? Didn't catch the kicker. Who's kicking for them now?
It's not John Casey anymore, is it?
It's who?
Grammy Gano.
Oh, Gano, still Gano?
Gano, yeah,
okay, still Gano. Okay.
Don't you know?
Gano, don't you know? All right, very good. 800-956-7266. Going to hear from USC's Hayden Hurst coming up after this break on Sports Talk. We can take more of your phone calls as well. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Florida State and Alabama coming up. I mean, we're talking what a way to start the season. Depending on which poll you go by, you got number 1 against number 2, or maybe number 3, but 2 of the top 4 teams in the country right off the bat meeting to open the season. That is fantastic, and that's going to be a heck of a game in Atlanta. Back in a moment. John Whittle from the Big Spur with an opinion piece on USC and Charleston possibly playing at Spirit Communications Park in downtown Columbia. That has now been reported by the Post and Courier and then confirmed by the state that it's being talked about. And he says 3 reasons why it would be good for South Carolina. The estimates are $60,000 to $100,000 to play at that park.
Told you it's about money. Money, Corn. Money talks.
Also,
the beer. Does he mention the beer?
Well, that's on the side. A team gets credit in the RPI when they leave their home stadium, even if you're just playing on the other side of town. So a win would help the RPI more, or a loss would hurt the RPI less than a game played at Founders Park.
Intrigue.
Gamecocks would almost certainly gobble up most of the tickets, so it would feel like a home game regardless. And he says it could also make for a unique recruiting pitch to high school recruits. I don't know about that.
No about that.
I mean, Founders Park is beautiful enough. Again, the RPI thing, I don't know. Is it going to move your RPI that much to beat a team that's 160 something in the RPI, and you already should be in? You should already be in the 20s, and they're going to be in the hundreds and something, because that's just where the College of Charleston. Well, they might be in the 60s or 70s. I don't know your RPI that much.
It's a fringe benefit, I would say. It's a fringe benefit.
The $60,000 to $100,000. I mean, are they guaranteeing? I don't know what South Carolina makes for a home game. As we mentioned, they sell about 6,000 season tickets as it is. So now you're gonna ask your fans to fork over more money to go to another park. And maybe I guess they have to pay for parking there as well. You're asking people who buy your season tickets to fork over more money to go see another game.
Well, I think what this tells you is they probably approached them about playing a game at Founders Park, and this is probably the way to get it done. They want to try to capitalize at least a little bit on a standalone game, to have Chad Holbrook come back home and kind of do like a little mea culpa, if you will, but also to get the intrigue going. This probably tells you, to me, at least from the context clues that were put together by Mr. Whittle, that tells me that they at least want to try a unique way to entice College of Charleston to come up here for that game.
Weren't we looking at some information earlier this year or during the baseball season that South Carolina is one of the SEC schools that has a lot of payout for each game? Because we were talking about, I guess, they have to direct traffic around there near the bridge. They have the offices.
You mean their expense? Yeah, there was a breakdown of expenses, and South Carolina's home game expenses are very high.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the buses that have to bring the fans in and out, all the security. They have a ton of security around their park.
So lay that off for one game. Maybe that gives. I don't know if you necessarily lay that off for one game and you completely take care of that.
I mean, look, it's a no-win situation for South Carolina when you play that particular game, because you're expected to beat College of Charleston with Chad Holbrook, and if it happens, it's a midweek game, so you're going to be using maybe your 5th or 6th best pitcher, which they will be doing as well. It's a crapshoot. You lose your little home field advantage. I don't know why you'd put yourself in that position if you're South Carolina. Are they that strapped for money that they've got to go and auction themselves off for one game to play an in-state team that's not Clemson? They already play a neutral site game with Clemson. And that's understandable. I just don't see, if you're going to do that, why didn't you play Coastal Carolina, the defending national champions?
Well, the interesting thing is that the one dynamic that we didn't throw in here, and I'll throw it in, is maybe this is a little favor from Ray Tanner, his personal relationship with Chad Holbrook.
Could be. All right. Let's see. What are they doing in Charlotte? They're still scoreless. Deshaun in the game yet?
I haven't seen their third series yet.
Christian McCaffrey, 12-yard run. Did he hurt himself? Is he all right? His ankle okay? to make sure he's healthy.
Well, this is not a bowl
Don't
game.
want
He's
him
ready
to,
to hang it out now.
sitting
You
on the
missed
sideline or anything.
Demir Bird had about a 15-yard punt return.
I like Demir Bird. He's done a great job
And
with the Panthers.
Next week when we got Mets Yankees, they're showing it on ESPN.
Yeah, I got Yankees Red Sox first, my man. That comes up first. Then
they play every weekend.
We'll have a little. We'll have a little side bet on that series.
Not barbecue this time, though.
Since you're the Mets. Since you're the Mets fan. All right, back to USC. We'll hear more from the Gamecocks tomorrow after their practice. We had a chance to talk to Hayden Hurst, the tight end / receiver who had such a big year last year and is headed towards maybe an even bigger year. And what is his money year? I mean, he's an older guy. You got to believe he's thinking about the NFL after this season, especially if he can have another year of 50 catches or so. He really likes this team. He really likes what he is seeing on the practice field. He says what Muschamp has done with the way he has scheduled this camp and kept the guys together has really done a good thing in terms of building the teamwork and the camaraderie on this squad.
Coach Muschamp, with his schedule that he sets up, we're here for 12, 13 hours a day, which some of the guys, at first you kind of, oh man, I want to go home. But I think that's done wonders for our team, because it just builds camaraderie and a brotherhood within the team.
And the confidence level about this upcoming season would be where?
We're not really trying to focus too much on results, but if we go out there and we work and we go through these Muschamp practices as hard as we can, the results are going to be there.
You say these Muschamp practices. I mean, is that like set these practices at a different level than, say, somebody else's practices?
I would say so. The physicality that Coach preaches and how he wants practices run 100% in every single drill, no matter what we're doing. He wants it, and that's what he gets.
And if you don't give the 100%, what happens?
The next guy will.
A lot of hitting going on out there.
Yes, sir. A lot of hitting, a lot of physicality. We're trying to control the line of scrimmage. Whether it's on offense, we're trying to run the football, and the defense is trying to do the same.
How was the offensive line look so far?
They've been impressive. Coach Wolford coming in here, he's done a really great job with those guys, getting them physical and understanding blocks and stuff like that. But I've been impressed with those guys.
Has anybody stood out to
you? Just as a whole unit. Not to single anybody out, but just the whole unit. They're kind of moving a lot better. I feel like they're just understanding the scheme a little bit better than last year, and the effort thing is always there too. That's a higher level this year too.
How about the D-line? What are you seeing out of them?
They've been impressive as well. To answer your question, a guy that stands out in my opinion would be Taylor Stallworth. He's in that 3-tech and he's controlling that A gap, and he's been something to block in there.
All right, Hayden Hurst, another big target for Jake Bentley and the Gamecock offense for this coming season, looking to have a big year once again.
Do you think that Eric Wolford is a bit of a miracle worker? Because it seems like he's getting a lot of praise before they've even taken a snap this year.
Well, he was here for 1 year
right
before he left to become a head coach, did a great job then, and I just think he's a very good coach.
I'm not trying to disparage him at all.
Yeah.
I think, there's only so much, there's a cap on what you can get out of him. It's what you got to get out of the gentleman.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is they wanted a different voice also.
True.
Want to read some of the comments on our Twitter page about South Carolina and Coastal possibly playing a game at Spirit Communications Park. Bill says, no, my season tickets in Columbia are at Founders Park. Gamecock Mama says, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Get out.
Gregory, I'd love to see the faces of Spirit Communications Park people if USC ever asked to play there. You know why this park was built, right? He says in question marks. Eddie says, sounds like a win-win. Matt Connolly from the state, who covers USC baseball, says, fun venue. I think beer could be sold, and RPI would benefit with it being a neutral game.
Beer.
Jeff writes, seems like
beer. I told you.
Jeff says, seems like a cash grab, an insult to a season ticket holder, and a sop to Holbrook's ego. Won't go.
Someone will take your seat.
Yeah,
I think they'll find somebody to put there.
There'll be a big crowd because South Carolina baseball, typically when it's going well and playing an interesting opponent, will have a big crowd. We'll see what happens with that.
Still no Deshaun Watson for the third drive. Still Savage in there.
All right. Well, we'll see Deshaun make his pro debut, I'm sure, at some point. The Panthers scored. How'd they score?
Helping Benjamin, touchdown pass.
Oh, well, thank you for telling us. That will do it. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Pro. Thank you,
sir.
John Mart. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Oh, Phil, DirecTV has